Hey guys, I was tagged by Expert Survival to do a video called Meet the Bushcrafters. Now there's a lot of them that's been going around lately, a lot of tags, and this one's really cool because it's where the bushcrafters meet, where the bushcrafters tell their story of how they came about being a bushcrafter and who taught them and what got them interested in it. So I'm gonna find a good spot, make some coffee, and I'll tell my story. Alright, this looks like a good spot. Now, what I can tell you, I'm gonna talk while I work. Anyway, what I can tell you is back in the 80s, I got a job in a steel mill. And when I got that job, I really wanted to fit in. And so what I did was, the guys that I worked with, one of them was older than me and one of them was younger than me, and so I kind of got to know them guys, got to being friends with them, and in our little department we took breaks together. And these guys was Johnny and Cecil, and so I just kind of wanted to fit in with them guys. So I wanted to do what they did. I wanted to get along with them, and so they talked about these camping trips that they went on all the time. And I hadn't necessarily been on any camping trips in a while. Matter of fact, I hadn't been camping at all. But they got to talking about these two old guys that they camped with, and they really thought a lot of them. They were interesting to hang around with at the least. But originally there was 3 old guys that went camping together, and I never met one of them. One of them, the guy's name was Red. Red died back in the 70s. So that basically left the other 2 guys. Now the other 2 guys, some of you may have heard me talk about them before, but their names were Flathead and Big Nose. Okay? Now Flathead and Big Nose were a couple of crusty old characters, and the stories that they told about those guys was just unbelievable. I couldn't believe the things that they had said about them. So anyway, I decided to go on some camping trips with them just because I wanted to fit in. Okay? And so I went out and I bought me a tent and I bought me a sleeping bag. And when I did that, I didn't know what was going to be in store. So when I showed up, Flathead, I think it was Flathead, no, it was Big Nose. I'm trying to remember which one it was because they were both acted so much the same. But I'd met them, and Flathead came over to the car and he got my tent and said, "What do you got there, son?" And I said, "I got a tent, a sleeping bag." He looked at it and he said, "Those are pretty nice." He took them out of my hand and threw them back in the car. And he said, "If you're going with us, you're going like we go." So he goes to his car and he gets out a roll of plastic, okay? And he breaks off, I'm gonna have to go pick all this stuff up. Anyway, he breaks off some of this plastic and he gives it to me. And he says, "You're gonna make do with this." He breaks off a roll of, cuts off some plastic, and then he hands me a bag of rice, and then he hands me an old grapefruit can, and then an old striker from a cutting torch. The dangest thing I ever seen. So anyway, he hands me all this stuff, and we go out there in the woods, and I'm just thinking these guys are crazy. I'm thinking this is not your typical camping. There's no way. Normal people don't camp this way. So anyway, we go out there and it's a pretty fun night. We have a good time, make a few memories, make a few laughs. But these old guys, some of the stuff that they do was just, it was amazing. I couldn't believe the things that they knew, the knowledge that they had. They taught me the crooked stick fire. They taught me the horizontal paracord fire. And these guys, they really loved rope. I mean, they loved rope. I guess you can tell that I was highly influenced by these dudes from watching my videos. And anyway, old Flathead, Flathead loved rope more than anything, and he's the one that really started the whole I'm gonna outdo you type mission. And because he would do things like he would take his hammock and he would hang his hammock up in a tree, and then Big Nose would try to outdo him. He'd hang his hammock up in a tree over the river, and I mean, they were just always trying to outdo each other. It was hilarious watching them guys. And then it got to the point to where we were all trying to outdo each other. And then pretty soon it got to the point to where they started playing games. Like before, you remember the old Otasco? Well, they would go into Otasco and they say, pick out 3 items, 3 or 4 items, and buy them. And then you hand them to the person that you're camping with, and they got to camp with it. So anyway, they did that kind of stuff. They would go to yard sales and they would say, pick out 5 items and that's what you're going to camp with. They would bring each other's trash, their trash bags, and they would say, you're gonna camp with whatever's in here. And they made all kinds of crazy shelters. And they loved rope, they loved paracord. They brought stuff and they did things. So at times I would say that I didn't necessarily know if I would call them bushcrafters or if I would call them survival experts, because they did bring a lot of stuff with them. But anyway, the thing is, they were pretty amazing. And they impressed the socks off of me, and they influenced me. They influenced me big time. And they made a lasting impression, and they taught me everything. They taught me the bow drill. They taught me to make do with what you have. They taught me the hand drill. They taught me a lot about the wild edibles. They also taught me that you could have fun even though you didn't have to go out in the woods and kill everything. So let me get this going. There you go. Whew. It just rained the past 2 days, so that didn't take on very good. But anyway, I'm gonna feed a few sticks in here while I'm talking to you. Let me get this going and then I'll cut you. All right, I got the fire going. Everything was wet. Kind of took a little bit of hassle. My ADD country boy self, I couldn't talk to you in the fire at the same time. But anyway, so I'm just going to sit here and talk to you and feed that wood in. But in all honesty, I can say this. For one thing, I can say that those guys had a profound influence on me, especially with the rope and everything, and trying to make do with whatever you have. And the main thing that they focused on was having fun. You're not trying to be a Rambo or a tough guy. Of course, Rambo wasn't even around back then. No, he was in the 80s, but anyway. And I'll be the first to admit, I hate to say it, but I didn't like those guys when I first met them because they were so brash. And Johnny and Cecil kept telling me, hang in there, man, you're going to love these guys. And they wanted to be like them. I mean, they idolized them. Of course, Big Nose Mac always wore olive drab, so that kind of rubbed off on me. But I mean, they did things, they didn't say much, and you had to respect their quietness. They expected you to watch them and learn. And those guys, they'd be sitting around over at their campsite. They'd show us about the bow drill or the hand drill, stuff like that. And it was kind of a rough upbringing hanging out with those guys, because they did things like, we would sit around our campsite and try to mimic what they did. Like, we would try to cut our notches and our dimples and make our bows and drills, and then you have to walk over there, show it to them, and then when you showed it to them, they were like, they would either, one time he grabbed mine, he looked at it, and as he was looking at it, he threw it in the river, and he didn't say a word. So I went back and I asked Johnny and Cecil, and I said, what's up with him? And they said, you didn't do it right. I said, if he'd have told you what you was doing wrong, you know, you would have, it don't work that way with him. And I don't know what it was with him, but the next time I did it, he actually said something. He looked at it and he said, that'll work, handed it back to me. But yeah, I didn't like him guys when I first met them, but you know, the more I was around them, the more they impressed me, and the more I wanted to be like them guys. And yeah, they had little shops in their backyard. You wouldn't believe them. They were sheds. They were like 100 years old, rotten, filled with junk all behind it, and they made everything. They loved coat hangers. They made tons of stuff out of coat hangers. But anyway, this thing right here, I'm gonna start feeding this stuff in. I'm starting to hear it bubble a little bit, so I think what I'm gonna do, but well, anyway, real quick, just to wrap the story up real quick. After those guys died, Cecil and Johnny didn't necessarily want to go anymore. We went occasionally, and I went with them some, and I went by myself some. And then Cecil died of lung cancer, so he's not around anymore. And then Johnny, you know, poor Johnny, he was younger than me. His wife died, and so he lost his zest for life, and it was terrible. So pretty much I was the only one left that went out in the woods and did these things. And you know, I love doing it, and it led to other things. A lot of the stuff I do is stuff that I was taught, and you know, some of it I came up with on my own. But anyway, you know, I miss those guys. I miss them real bad. Nobody's like them. Nobody. They would have made some TV stars. So anyway, I started going on my own, you know, and kept going, went all them years, and then somebody suggested that I do the YouTube thing. And I did, and it turned out pretty good. I've had a lot of fun, met a lot of friends around the world. So, but anyway, to wrap it up, that's how I got into it. This is fixing to start percolating, so I need to make me a good, nice place to sit down, and then I'm going to figure out who I'm going to tag. All right. See if I can sit down without spilling this. Oh, there we go. Can you see me? Can't tell. All right. Now, for my tags, you know, normally it's really hard to find out who to tag when I've done these videos, but there's some people that I highly respect. Look at the steam coming off of that. That's some good stuff. Anyway, there's some people that I highly respect, and they got some great skills, and I love watching their videos, and I want to know where they learned what they know and how they got started, how they gained that knowledge. So for my first tag is going to be Sep from Walled Handwork. He's incredible. His knowledge of the outdoors, plants, knives, shelters, love it. Okay, Sep, you're my first tag. Now, my second tag is going to be my friend from Sweden, Peter Veravild. He's a survival instructor. He's got his own school. That's pretty cool. And so my third tag is going to be somebody all of you know, Ghost Camo. I don't even know his real name. I just know he's Ghost Camo, and he's just, you know, he's kind of a mysterious kind of guy, but really a smart guy, almost like a philosopher. knows a lot about bushcraft, knows a lot about the outdoors. He's really connected with nature big time. So Ghost Camo, you're my third tag. So anyway, I've had fun. I'm gonna kick back, enjoy my chair, drink some coffee, and so anyway, that's my story, and looking forward to you three guys' tags, and till next time, I'll be back to the normal videos pretty soon. See y'all guys.